Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors. Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. On the podcast with us today is Adam Witty. He's the CEO of Media Forbes Books. Welcome to the podcast, Adam.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Dan. We'll have a lot of fun.
Hi, Adam. We are certainly looking forward to talking with you today. And we would like for you to get us started by just sort of explaining what your focus is right now as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, Danae. So our business is all about helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses to benefit all of mankind. I'm a great believer that growing businesses are an incoming tide that lift all boats. And so when you look at our organization, Media Forbes Books, and the various business units and brands that we have, from the No BS Inner Circle to the Oxford Center for Entrepreneurs to News and Experts, the one common thread amongst all of our different businesses is we help entrepreneurs grow their businesses, whether it be through writing and publishing a book, marketing their business better, getting PR and media, giving them the information they need to scale their business. Our core purpose and core mission in everything we do is helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses to benefit everybody that's a part of that business.
You know, Adam, one of the things that, before we get into some of your tough decisions, I want you to kind of, talk a little bit about, because on multiple episodes already, we've had people that have come on, and one of their struggles is, taking the time or making the time to actually write a book. You always hear about somebody, I'm writing a book, and it takes them 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And sometimes they never actually finish writing that book or getting it published. And so can you share with us what Media Forbes Books does for authors to help them be able to actually finish a book?
Well, to your point, Dan, it is really hard, and it takes a lot of time. I believe that everybody has a book in them. And, a USA Today interview a number of years ago showed that roughly 95% of all living Americans had a book dream inside of them that they hope to birth, before the end of their life. What I can tell you is that for most people, the idea of sitting down and writing, typing into a computer, or maybe even writing longhand is a really difficult thing to do. People have lots of ideas, they have lots of content, and if you ask them to talk about it, that'd be very easy for them to do, especially for business owners and for entrepreneurs. They can talk about their business, they can talk about the ideas behind their business literally until the cows come home. If you then ask them to sit down and write it, it's a much more daunting task. And so a number of years ago, we pioneered a program called Talk Your Book. And it's a ghostwriting program where we assign a ghostwriter to work with a entrepreneur, now known as the author, right? The entrepreneur who's now the author. And literally that ghostwriter interviews you. And it's an interview that's done over the phone. So it's really easy to do. It's very convenient. And literally you talk your book. By being interviewed, all of that content, all that information is captured. It's recorded. And then those recordings are turned into a transcript, which of course the transcript then has to be ghostwritten into an actual book. But with the Talk Your Book method, you can get a book out of your head and onto the paper in as little as 24 hours of your time total. So that's being interviewed, that's reading and reviewing the manuscript, whereas the average person, if they were to write a book on their own, would spend about 300 hours.
Wow. I think the biggest thing is having somebody that can, for one, hold your feet to the fire and make sure you actually get that book written, but also somebody that not only can make sure you get it written, but also write it for you. I mean, that's what I think that's so unique about your business. And I really, really like it. And so, we'll make sure that at the end on the show notes, we'll give them some information on how they can reach out to you and your company to try to, see if that's something that they can do. And I know I recommend it all the time, and I try to, plug it as much as I can because it really has helped a lot of people be able to write a book that wouldn't have otherwise.
Thank you.
Well, let's shift a little bit here to your first tough decision that you've had that, I like to kind of start off with one that didn't have that good of an outcome and some of the lessons that you learned through that tough decision.
Yeah, so it was a decision I made, this was probably 2 years ago. There's a friend that I have that I met through business, and he was the president of a marketing company. And he and two people that he worked with decided to leave that company and start a marketing software business. And we were good friends. And at the time, he asked me if I would like to be a partner with him in that marketing software business. And the really neat opportunity was that one of the ways that I would contribute to the partnership was there was a lot of editorial and graphic design and project management work that they needed to get the business off the ground. And so my equity was going to be earned by contributing key people within my Advantage Forbes Books organization to essentially work on this project, which was this startup software business. Now, the wrinkle is that the owner of the company that this person left was a person that I knew, and it was a person that I had explored a business relationship with. And although that business relationship never came to fruition, there were documents shared and there were non-disclosure agreements that were signed. Now, the person that started the software business that asked me to join him as a partner, that was never a part of any of the discussions. So there was no confidential information that was being breached or shared, but there was a legal document that was signed. And so I spoke with our attorneys and I said, look, here's the situation. There's no legal information that's being breached. This is a completely separate subject matter, but these are the parties involved. And I'd really like to become a partner with this gentleman in his software business. And, the lawyers said, well, we understand it's really not probably going to be an issue, but just to protect yourself, we've got to tell you that you really shouldn't do it. You should really put a hold on this and not do it at all. And at the time, obviously every lawyer, their job is to protect their client's downside. And the one thing I'll say about attorneys who are very valuable is that most attorneys tend to spend more time focused on protecting downside than trying to optimize for upside. And in this case, that was very much what happened. And so I passed on the deal at the advisement of our attorneys. And, I can't blame the attorneys because it was ultimately my decision and I listened to them. The reason it's a bad decision is because 2 years later, this software business is now a multi-million-dollar business that is one of the biggest up-and-coming players in its industry. And if I had owned a quarter of this business, which is what the plan was, that share would probably be worth easily a couple $1 million, but probably even upwards of $7 to $10 million. And more importantly, that would be a software system that we could easily offer to all of our customers in my primary business. So that was a tough decision where my instinct told me I should do it, but the legal advisors that we employ really said I shouldn't do it to protect myself and any potential downside. And today it's a very successful software business that I missed out on.
That's a hard decision because on one side, like you said, you're pulled, from your intuition saying, yes, this is a good idea and I want to do this. But then you have your legal team saying, hey, wait, hold on, pull the reins back a little bit. This might not be so good after all. I think, from what I'm hearing is that the lesson that you learned here is yes, still seek legal advice, but also understand that many times the attorneys focus on the downside more than the potential upside. And sometimes you have to weigh those risks and benefits to kind of figure out, should you move forward with something?
Yeah, when I made that decision, I was really making the decision almost as if I was a business manager rather than an entrepreneur. And there's a difference between entrepreneurs and business managers. Yes, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have to be business managers to some degree in their business. But, an entrepreneur is always looking for opportunity and is using their intuition to determine where there's an opportunity and is willing to pounce, is willing to take action to try and take advantage of an opportunity. And in this case, I probably let my business manager hat, and of course, letting the lawyer's advice dictate what I would do or not do. I probably let that business manager advice overcome the entrepreneur intuition that I had in my gut.
That's an interesting distinction there because, as an entrepreneur, you would have done it,
That's right.
You would have just jumped in.
That's exactly right. It's almost like the entrepreneur was, the good angel on one shoulder and the business manager was the not so good angel on the other shoulder. And look, there have been plenty of instances where, heeding an attorney's advice, will save you from a really bad situation. So it's not the attorney's fault, but in this case, I probably should have followed my entrepreneurial instincts.
Now, have you gone back to that attorney and told them what happened?
I've not actually had the courage to do that.
You don't want to make them feel too bad, right?
No, I don't.
Just send them this episode of the podcast. It'll speak for itself.
That's exactly right.
So let's talk about a tough decision that you had made and had a really good positive outcome and some of the lessons you learned through that.
Yeah, so about 2.5 years ago, we bought a marketing agency. At the time, our core business is writing and publishing books. And at the time, we had a really small marketing agency within our company, but it was small. And we really wanted to take a big step forward because the calculus that we as a company had made was that most of our clients who are entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners, most of those clients who were doing a book also really needed help with marketing and not just marketing their business, but what we call authority marketing. So I've created this book. Now, how do I become the authority in my field? And as it turns out, there's actually a discipline of marketing that is called authority marketing. And so this marketing agency that we ended up buying, they helped institute authority marketing programs for business leaders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs. Well, the reason why it was a tough decision is simply because our company was having a lot of success. We were growing, we were profitable, and buying this business, it was a business in a different city, in a different state, halfway across the country. It was a business that, was somewhat new to us. It was a bunch of, foreign actors, if you will. So all new people, all new customers. And there were certainly a lot of things that could have gone wrong. And so the conservative business advisors that we have said, I think if you're going to do this, you should just invest in building your own marketing agency bigger. I don't think I would take the risk of buying another company. And what happens if that doesn't work out? Well, we ended up buying the company. And it was a relatively small business at the time. It was doing just a couple of $1 million in revenue. And in the last 2 years, we have quintupled the size of the business just in the last, 27 months.
Wow.
We've quintupled the size of the business. And the reason we've done that is because when we bought this small company, they really gave us the confidence that we knew how to do this because we acquired all of these really great people that had the experience of doing it before. So why was it a tough decision? Well, it was a tough decision because there was a lot that could have gone wrong. We opened up an office multiple states away. We were trusting leaders that we had only just recently met. And as you probably know real well, and certainly for our listeners, roughly 80% of all acquisitions, 80% of all mergers don't produce the benefits that were originally projected. They perform worse than what they had projected. They just don't pan out. And the reason most mergers and acquisitions don't pan out is because there's a lot that can go wrong. So the conservative business advisors warned us of all of that. This was a situation, Dan and Danae, where I listened to my entrepreneurial intuition. And in this case, I'm glad I did, because that has proven to be a very, very good decision.
It sounds like, in both of these decisions, but kind of related, because they're both about, listening to your entrepreneurial spirit, but also getting advice from other people, but balancing that, and I think, what you've done with your current business and then bringing on this other business is great, because you've actually, like you said, instead of having to, take, 5 or 10 years to get where you wanted to go, you were able to buy a company that is already doing something that you really want to do. They've already, gone over the hurdles. They've got systems and procedures and processes in place that you can learn from and make better and improve, and you can now work together. And I think that's really, really where it is where you have that synergy, that synergistic effect between those two companies that were able to bring your learning curve down.
One of the things that I've learned, especially when it comes to decision making, is with any big decision I have to make, I say, what is the upside? And I try to calculate, what is the upside? And then I try to say, what is the downside? And I try to actually calculate the downside, right? And at the end of it, I say, can I live with the downside? And if the answer is no, I can't live with the downside, then I don't do it. If the answer is, well, I sure hope it doesn't happen, but I could live with the downside if it did, then 9.9 out of 10 times I say, okay, I can do it. So let's go back to that first decision that I made where I listened to our lawyers and I didn't invest in the software company. If I would have asked myself at that time, what is the downside? I would have come to the conclusion with my attorney that the owner of the former business maybe would have tried to sue me and say, you've breached a confidentiality agreement. And although we didn't, and we could have proven that, it probably could have cost $20,000 to $25,000 in legal fees. And so the attorney's thinking, well, I don't want Adam to have to pay $25,000 in legal fees. But if I look at the upside, which is now a multi-million-dollar company that I missed out on, and I look at the downside, which was maybe up to $25,000 in legal fees, then I could have lived with that downside. So if I had used that litmus test to make the decision, if you will, I wish I would have known then what I know now, because I probably would have made the decision. I know I would have made the decision to invest in the software company. But that's just a little tip for your listeners is look at the upside and then look at the downside and ask yourself the question, can I live with the downside? And if the answer is yes, then you should probably do it.
So I want to shift to a series of quick questions that we call the Trifecta, which is, really some things that can help entrepreneurs who are listening right now and some ways that you've been helped as an entrepreneur too. So the first thing is what has been your favorite technology that you use in business that has made your life so much easier?
This is going to sound really, really pathetic, but it's Google Calendar. I calendar everything and I time block everything. So every day I have a priority list of what I need to get done. In between meetings and in between phone calls. And everything that needs to get done, I actually time block onto the calendar versus just having a to-do list and saying, well, when I get the time, I'll start working on item 1, 2, and 3. Google Calendar is something I use every single day.
And what's a favorite quote that you've heard that has really helped you as an entrepreneur?
Boy, I would say this, you only live life once, but if you work it right, once is enough.
And do you have a favorite book that has helped you make better decisions as an entrepreneur?
Lots of favorite books. Probably my favorite in the last couple of years is titled American Icon, Alan Mulally and the Fight to Save Ford Motor Company. It's a phenomenal book that talks about the turnaround process of Ford Motor Company And this guy named Alan Mulally, who is the CEO of Ford from 2006 to 2014, uses this incredible management process called working together and something called the business plan review. And he used that to turn around the company. And I love the book. I was fascinated by it. We implemented working together. We implemented the business plan review at our company, and it's made a world of difference.
So, Adam, what is the next thing for you on your vision or dream board?
Boy, well, there's a lot of things on that, but specifically on the professional side, I really believe our company is just scratching the surface in providing value to entrepreneurs. And there's more that we want to do in terms of creating products and services that they value and want. I really believe that we can and will be a global company that is significant in stature, size, and support. So we're executing our business plan. I'm having the time of my life. Professionally, I've got a number of things on my bucket list that are happening this year, one of which is a trip to Mount Rushmore and the Badlands in North Dakota and South Dakota, and then also doing the rim-to-rim hike of the Grand Canyon.
Well, that sounds really exciting. I will tell you this, to kind of help you with your globalization of your company, we're now being listened to and downloaded in 33 different countries across the world. So as people are listening and they want to, reach out to you, I think that'll be really cool to kind of see, how much reach this particular episode can get for you too.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. So Adam, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to be with us here on the podcast. How can the listeners reach out to you and get more information from you and also try to, help them with their book that they want to write as well?
Yeah, so 2 websites. You can learn more about me at Adam Witty, Witty, AdamWitty.com. And then our company is AdvantageFamily.com, AdvantageFamily.com. And we've got tons of free resources on that website for people that are thinking about a book or writing a book or need help with a book, AdamWitty.com and AdvantageFamily.com.
And I'll make sure in the show notes that we list those links so that they can get the correct, spelling and all that kind of good stuff too. So thank you so much, and look forward to having you on a future podcast as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.